5 seconds to go. Start. Subsequently, former Defense Minister Mr. Parikar, when he was releasing a book, had actually gone a little further and really suggested that the no first use posture possibly could be under consideration. Even the current Defense Minister Mr. Rajnath Singh on the 16th of August 2019 had alluded to some ambiguity in it after his visit to Pokhran. The reason why I am posing these questions is because all this has created a consternation. Given the fact that our neighborhood is extremely becoming difficult, it would be enlightening to hear from the minister as to whether we continue to maintain a no first use posture, or is there any rethink in government which he would like to share with the House. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairperson. Sir, when Pokhran test took place, Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee took me also along. I would like to say one thing. If you want to speak on this, you can. We are proud of our scientists. With all the information they have, America had no information that India was going to do this test. I think we should take note of this and congratulate our scientists that no one in the world came to know that we had done these tests. Thank you, Chairman Sir. I rise here in defense and support of this new amendment bill, namely the weapons of mass destruction and their delivery systems, Prohibition of Unlawful Activities Amendment Bill 2022. As we know, it was an old act in the same name which was enacted in 2005, as many of our esteemed members have mentioned. As the Honorable Minister mentioned yesterday and today also, that we are compliant or conforming to the United Nations Security Council's targeted financial sanctions and the recommendations of the Financial Action Task Force, which have mandated against financing of proliferation of weapons of mass destruction and their delivery systems. In view of the above, there is a need to amend the said Act to provide against the financing of proliferation of weapons of mass destruction and their delivery systems so as to fulfill our international obligations. The bill seeks to insert a new section 12A. There is not much an amendment in that way in the existing law, which states that no person shall finance any activity which is prohibited under this Act or under the United Nations Security Council Act 1947 or any other relevant act for the time being in force, or by an order issued under any such act in relation to weapons of mass destruction and their delivery systems. The bill would give the Government of India powers to freeze, seize, or attach funds or other financial assets or economic resources owned or controlled wholly or jointly, directly or indirectly by such person, or held by or on behalf of or at the direction of such person, or derived or generated from the funds or other assets owned or controlled directly or indirectly by such person. I would like to say that this amendment bill shows the deep commitment of the Government of India to our counter terrorism measures. I would like to congratulate our Honorable Prime Minister for the way he has taken the leadership when he took over as the Prime Minister of this country, appealing to the world leaders to define the word terrorism and to devise an international counter terrorism strategy. This amendment also shows our commitment to build a strong internal security infrastructure in this country. This bill also shows our deep commitment to international obligations and conventions. The bill also shows our commitment to international peace, security, and welfare of humanity. That is why I would like to congratulate the Honorable Minister and the Prime Minister of India. We all know, as has been mentioned earlier, about the devastation and destruction that the weapons of mass destruction carry. We all know the cases of Hiroshima and Nagasaki in Japan. In Hiroshima, it killed 1,40,000 people. In Nagasaki, it killed 74,000 people, and the survivors suffered from cancer and other ailments in their lives. Even otherwise, also, as some of my friends mentioned earlier, there have been some recent incidents. Colonel Rathore was telling us as to what happened in Tokyo subway in Japan in 1995 and in America in 2001. Similarly, one Chechen terrorist threatened that he had buried a dirty bomb in a Moscow park and he will turn Moscow city into an eternal desert. Similarly, recently one American counter-terrorism official testified before the United States House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence that Al Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula has high intention to procure chemical weapons and biological devices, particularly in Pakistan and Yemen. So, we cannot say that the threat or the risk is over. We have to be much more vigilant than ever before. Honorable Chairperson, Sir, I would also like to share the views of the Honorable Member Shri Uttam Kumar Reddy. The present bill mentions about a person. Perhaps I would also like to request the Honorable Minister one thing. Now, there are such firms and companies. There are also rogue states. Sometimes they try to fund the terrorist activities. Srimati Supriya Sule was talking about it. The United Nations Security Council Resolution 1540 talks about the chemical, biological, radiological, or nuclear CBRN weapons. I would like to ask the Honorable Minister whether the government will include it because there is no clarification on this issue. Similarly, I would also like to request one thing, though it is not directly related with his ministry. It comes under the National Disaster Management Authority, which ultimately comes under the Ministry of Home Affairs. I have attended many conferences and workshops on CBRN. Basically, those conferences or workshops focused on how to defend ourselves. But unfortunately, even our disaster management manual is not very clear. Who will be the first responder? Let us suppose that there is a biological attack or a chemical attack. Generally or traditionally, it is the police which is the first responder for such kinds of emergencies. Is our police prepared for such kind of emergencies? Is our police trained or equipped to face such a situation? Shri Manish Tiwari ji was also talking about it. The Bhabha Atomic Research Center is a nodal agency of the disaster management mechanism. I would like to know whether the Bhabha Atomic Research Center will respond to such a situation. What will really happen? CBRN weapons related disasters are a matter of grave concern for all of us. The whole country is vulnerable to such kinds of attacks. How do we prepare ourselves? How do we train our forces to tackle such a situation? How do we equip ourselves? Nowadays, we say that the NDRF or SDRF will take care of it, but NDRF is not present everywhere. I think it will take a lot of time. I think this is an issue which should be addressed urgently. There should be facilities so as to isolate and decontaminate our patients and victims. There is no clarity on that also in our disaster management manual. Stop.